As he faces down 4 different criminal trials across the country, ex-President Donald Trump has been waging his own war in the court of public opinion, attacking any prosecutor or government official that tries to hold him accountable. And according to new reporting in Georgia, he's getting some help from the state Republican Party. The Atlanta Journal-Constitution writes, quote, Donald Trump's allies in Georgia are working to undermine Fulton County's election interference case far from the courtroom by opening new fronts on the airwaves, under the Gold Dome, and at Republican gatherings scattered around the state. And on Saturday, ground zero for the fight was just outside a Reformation brewery in Atlanta's Exurbs, where a group called the Georgia Patriot Legal Defense Fund sold $30 lunch combos and raffle tickets to help float the legal fees for Trump and the 14 remaining co-defendants in Fulton's far-reaching case. Joining our conversation on her papers reporting, Washington correspondent for the Atlanta Journal-Constitution, Tia Mitchell. She is here. Michael is back with us. Tia, your colleague Greg Bluestein reported on this effort from the Georgia Republican Party. Tell us about the effort to focus the state's energy on attacking Willis.
Well, the effort serves a few purposes. Number one, money. Trump and currently 14 other co-defendants all have legal fees and attorneys. So the state party, through these related groups, are helping to raise money for their legal defense. But we also know that part of Trump's message to his supporters has always been, that he represents them, and attacks on him are attacks on you. So we're seeing that message applied to his case in Georgia. So I see that what we're talking about today as another extension of that, is speaking to those Trump supporters, those MAGA Republicans. They're saying this prosecution, these charges that Trump and his allies are facing are more evidence of the attacks on Trump that are therefore attacks on you, his supporters. And that seems to work to continue to build his support among Republican voters.
Michael Steele, we'll get to Brian Kemp in just a second, but what does it say to you that you have Republicans in Georgia carrying the water of the press? We have to talk about Donald Trump as the problem. Trumpism is now the problem.
Well, it's actually, in one sense, as Tia illustrates, in what's going on there, where the movement is now grown a little bit beyond the man, where it's not just a matter of supporting Trump, but supporting what is a vast and growing network of people. They know there's more of this to come. There's more illiberal behavior that they will engage in, that the system, as long as it still stands the way it does, will try to combat that illiberalism. So you start these narratives very succinctly, very precisely, and very personal. They're very personal narratives. Alicia, this is not just about me. It's about you and what's going to happen to you if they come after me. And that kind of emotive response to, I don't know, pick a random issue, right? Where the person is somehow connected, draws them in, may not otherwise be focused on the Raffensperger situation or the audio tapes, but now suddenly have a different understanding of the very thing that they heard before and see it very differently. They see it the way Trump wants to see it, because he's helped make this emotional connection to them, which ties back to what Tia said in the very first instance, the grift. Give me $30 and I'm going to protect you from them.
Better be one hell of a lunch for $30. Tia, the Atlanta Journal-Constitution piece also says this about sort of the line that Republicans are walking. Quote, the pushback against Willis comes despite vocal warnings from the party's top Republicans. Kemp and House Speaker John Burns have each warned fellow Republicans not to weaponize a new state commission against Willis. The governor, who defeated a Trump-backed rival last year, said he won't stand by if Republicans try engaging in political theater that only inflames the emotions of the moment. Kemp has also worked to build up a rival political network that has, in some ways, already eclipsed the Georgia GOP. Talk to me about that dynamic within the state's own party.
Yeah, it's really interesting. Kemp started working around the Georgia GOP after the 2020 election, when it was clear that he was going to have to run for re-election in 2022 with the party apparatus led by, at the time, fake elector David Shafer, that was leaning into, again, the election denialism and the Trumpism. And Kemp smartly worked around them, and it really benefited him in 2022. But we still see an interesting dynamic. You know, as much as Kemp has been willing to stand up to election denialism and say there was nothing wrong with the 2020 election, he still did sign into law that new voting law in Georgia that was based on some of the misinformation and undermining of the election system that Republicans created. He also signed into law the bill this year that created that commission that would allow people to launch investigations of prosecutors. So yes, Governor Kemp is saying, on one hand, I don't want this to be politicized. I don't want people just going after prosecutors they don't like Bonnie Willis. But he also signed into law the bill that made it possible. So in a lot of ways, he goes there to a certain point, but then he sees members of his party perhaps going further than he would like, and he'll stop. But, you know, there's some synergy to a point there, and I think that can't be missed.